So welcome y'all. We have a get to know the speaker series that we're starting to do here as CHATTcon is about to launch with all of our recorded content. We'll get into more of that a little bit later. I'll describe the format, but today we have Chirag Patel. Super excited to have you here. Thank you so much. You're someone that I have heard about for literally years, especially after running this conference where everyone's like, do you know the workup? Do you know the workup? And it's like, I don't. And this year we have you. So I'm really excited to learn. I already have a little bit of a sneak peek of what actually has been recorded though. But for those who don't know, can we just start with a little bit of maybe how you got into what you're doing and why you're so passionate about it?
Sure. So I want to just say I'm so excited to be able to be part of CHATTcon this year. It's a conference I've heard loads about and amazing things about, and I've been wanting to get to. And I thought I'll get there next year, and I was able to be here, so I'm so happy. So I started off working with sort of dogs and other non-human learners, thinking about training, animal training and behavior. And it was because I had a dog who, walking down the street, grabbed hold of someone's arm and bit them just before school. I was walking him, and so I started taking him to training, learning about what to do with him. And so there's so many different things, and it got me really interested in wanting to learn more. And then I think it was a talk by Dr. Susan Friedman at a conference where she gave a keynote about behavior analysis. And I was like, oh my God, a whole new world has just opened up from what I thought of as learning theory to this whole field of behavior analysis. And since then, sort of my passion for sort of behavior analysis and applying it with the non-human learners I get to work with and the human learners that come attached to them. So that's kind of how I started and sort of where I'm passionate about.
Very cool. What are some of the applications, I guess, for those that may not know? I know you work with some exotic animals, but can you just give me, I don't know, a few, what the range is?
Sure. So one of the recent projects I was really privileged to be involved with was some work with two beluga whales, little grey and little white, at Sea Life Trust in Iceland, where they're taking these two whales who've been housed under human care for many years in an aquarium, and they've netted off a large part of a bay in Iceland. And so we were part of the project to teach the whales to be comfortable and swim into a medical pool, so we're able to transfer them to an outside area, and then when they're outside, teaching them that it's full of positive reinforcers, that things flying over your head aren't so scary, and so building up a huge behavioral repertoire that will help them be able to make the most of the environment that they're in. So that's just one of the projects I've been involved in recently. And then I do a lot of work with dogs and cats and domestic animals housed in sort of homes as pets, and so helping people understand maybe why their pets are doing what they're doing and how they can arrange the environment to promote other behaviors, or sort of teach their pets to do other things that can get some of the same outcomes that the animals are trying to achieve.
Very nice. What are some of the, behavior analysis is some of the experiences you bring in. Is there other influences that you have?
So I suppose a large part of it used to be more sort of an ethological basis of sort of how dogs, this is a dog and they come from sort of a long time ago, they've evolved in this process, and because they're dogs, they do this, X, Y, and Z. But I suppose I've moved away a lot from looking at that. And a huge part of my work now is focusing on a behavior analytic approach to behavior, and regardless of the species or the learner, to be able to look at arranging environments to help them succeed. So yeah.
Nice. Very cool. So one other thing that I think is interesting in your bio is you've had the chance to sit on and participate in a few different series that have been on television as well. So as a fellow behavior analyst, it's something that we talk about all the time, right? How do we disseminate, share the science and things like that? Regardless of the medium or outlet, right? There's usually the same barrier of like, how do we get our foot through the door? How do we make this happen? So is there anything you can share on that, even if it was just like what the experience was like, what you learned?
Sure. So yeah, I recently finished filming and came out on TV, Cats and Dogs at War, which was a series about people with cats and dogs in the same household and them not getting on. And I love sort of engaging with TV work where sometimes you have to kind of work out whether it's going to be the right environment, because what the expectation of the producers and the TV program is might not fit with ethics and welfare and what you want to do. But then once you get past that level, for me, it almost becomes about being flexible and looking at, because behavior analysis is about the study of one and looking at the individual in front of us. When we're engaging in kind of a media project, you're speaking to so many people potentially and arranging the environment for so many individuals. You kind of have to go, one word isn't going to mean the same thing to every learner that's going to hear this. And so I think sometimes from my perspective, I have to think, who's going to be the audience? What's the data in terms of who watches this stuff? Who's going to log in? And then based on what kind of language might be most accessible to them. So there might be words that speaking to yourself or speaking to Teresa or Anne, we may talk more behavior geeky language. So when it comes to maybe the stuff we're going to do on TV, we might look at it from a scientific lens and go, wait, that's not so accurate. But hopefully what it does is it sets the occasion for people to watch the programs and find it reinforcing and start to almost shape their way of thinking in terms of behavior to a more behavior analytic approach. So that's the kind of approach I take when I'm doing a lot of media stuff, is to go, maybe if another behaviorist was watching this with a critical lens, they might go, wait, that's not accurate. But my goal there isn't necessarily to publish a paper. It's more to see how many people can we engage and get to start thinking along this perspective. So I suppose that would be the biggest thing, is to try and think of, be more flexible. And sometimes it's hard for us to do because we might go, wait, we don't label this, or we don't do it, we don't talk about it in this way, or that's a construct. And then sometimes by using that construct or that label, it can actually be useful because the learner that you're with, you meet them where they're at and you're able to go, oh, that's reinforcing. And then suddenly they want to know more. And you can then start to shape what language you're using and what those words mean and go from there.
That's cool. And if you don't mind me asking, how'd you get recruited for those? Was it through just the work that you've been doing?
Yeah, I can't really give any other tips about how to get recruited. They just phone you up and they send you an email, you reply. I'm awful at these kinds of things. So I'm always thinking, oh, they'll never accept it. But for some reason, they're like, sure, we'll have you.
Do great work, it sounds like, right?
I love it.
That's cool. Is there anything on the ethics and welfare that you're constantly trying to get out there and spread? Any passion points or things that maybe we can amplify a little right now?
Definitely. So for me, from a non-human learner perspective, because we talk about them as being owned as opposed to being maybe caregivers for, we start to go, I own the dog, I own the cat. And then when we look at wanting to understand behavior or change behavior, we start to look at it as in what's going to benefit me as a person who lives with this dog. The behavior the dog is doing is a problem for me. And the learners that we care for don't have a choice to come and live with me, whether I've rescued them, the label, if you want to use the label rescue, or whether I bought them as a puppy or a kitten. I choose essentially, or set the environment for whether they can access sleeping behaviors, eating, drinking, defecation, urination. And so I think, for me, my passion is how can we give back to the learners as opposed to making it about me. So when I have my dog or my cat, or they're doing something, my parrots, how can I ask the question about how does this benefit you, as opposed to looking at it from that noise is annoying to me, it's giving me a headache, so how can I stop it?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and that little change in perspective can really help you achieve the goal of both parties, I think, right? But in a way that actually makes it beneficial to both too. That's really cool. So maybe to shift into a little bit, like what's the topic that you are co-presenting on? Can you tease that a little bit?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting topic. It's something that we use a lot in the animal training world, targets and targeting, and not just targets and targeting, but how to use them intentionally, thoughtfully. And it was something that I worked with Teresa McKeon and Anne Womold, and in terms of looking at bringing their perspectives from Tag Teach, working as a certified behavior analyst, and me working with a lot of non-human learners. And we're starting to think about where do we use targets in our retrospective work? And we started to find there's lots of similarities, and then not just going and asking the questions like, what do targets look like in your work? What do targets look like when you use them, Chirag? And then starting to go, a lot of times we think of targets maybe more topographically. So we go, here's a target, a ball with a stick at the end of it, or stick with a ball at the end of it. And I hold it out, the animal touches it with their nose, and that's called a target or targeting. And so we started to look at how can we break that down from a behavior analytic perspective? How can we start putting it into our 3 or 4 term contingency? So that's where we started to go with this presentation.
Very nice. And just to recap for everyone, we've pre-recorded all these. So the sessions are all pre-recorded. There's 13. They are all being released on May 1st to where everyone can watch from May 1st through June 24th. And then the evening of June 24th, we have some social events. And then 25th and 26th is dedicated purely to live discussions, Q&As, and such. So you can actually watch the pre-recorded stuff at your leisure for those 6 or 7 weeks. Submit your questions, and presenters can have some time to think on them, and then you'll be able to hear the 25th, 26th, just live Q&A discussions amongst various presenters, your questions being answered, things like that. There'll be a live chat feature and such. So we really think we're flipping the model here and trying to bring back some of that networking and discussion, which is hopefully fun since we're still in this online world. And so that's the format of everything. And maybe if you don't mind, is there anything that you're looking forward to? Is it, I mean, we got a Susan Friedman talk, so there's definitely something that probably rings home there. But I guess what attracted you maybe to CHATTcon, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, so a number of things. One of the things you just mentioned, this idea that it's very different from going, I have to be at the conference, I have to hear this lecture live. The fact that we can access the recordings beforehand, and there's enough time to sort of comfortably be able to access that information, listen to it 2 or 3 times, make notes, the kind of notes that we're getting as well. I'm really excited about those. Yeah. And then taking that to another level, what I really love is going, once we start, I've had a few weeks or a week to look at this and maybe read more around it, then we actually get to access real-time interaction with other presenters, with people listening to our presentations, we're giving them, and so to be able to have that conversation and engagement. So that's some of the really, that's one of the big reasons I'm really looking forward to it, because I don't think I've seen a conference presented in that way before. And so that's a hugely exciting thing. And then the other side of me is the convergence. So looking at how the principles can be applied to so many different species, and hearing the work of people maybe working with more human learners and going, what can I look at in terms of their maybe procedures and how they apply certain principles, and then maybe even take that home and go, I can maybe borrow some of those things and look at them slightly differently to how I work with my non-human learners.
Very cool. Yeah, same thing. I mean, as a co-creator of it, I nerd out on the convergence aspect big time, right? Where can people learn more about what you're doing or follow up more if they want to just dig into more, Chirag?
They can visit my Instagram, which is Chirag Patel Consulting, or my Facebook page, again, Chirag Patel Consulting. And I have a YouTube channel as well, so the same name, and they can find out more information there too.
Very cool. And that's actually linked on your bio that's on our website as well, if anyone wants to go through and click through and find all those. I think that's it. Thanks for your time. I'll wrap up the live here. Everyone can check out more at CHATTcon.com. It's linked down below. And appreciate it, Chirag.
See you at the conference.